Hey y'all, so today's the day we're going to talk about photosynthesis. Here's the thing, photosynthesis sounds like it can be scary. And really, photosynthesis is kind of scary depending on how you learn it. Lucky for you, I don't think photosynthesis is all that exciting. So we're pretty much going to hit the basics and then we're going to move on because really light reactions, dark reactions, light dependent reactions, light independent reactions, photosystems, electron transport chain, that's all stuff you're going to hear about other people talking about from other classes. You are never going to need to know that in the rest of your life unless you go off to become some sort of botanist or some sort of crazy chemist type person. So we're not going to go over that. If you want to learn more about it, let me know. I'd be more than happy to talk to you about it. But right now, we're going to keep it really, really simple. So you already know that photosynthesis happens in the chloroplasts. Chloroplasts are the organelles that perform photosynthesis. And what chloroplasts do, you already know, is that they convert the sun's energy into stored chemical energy. And that stored chemical energy is in the form of glucose. And remember that glucose is that good sugar molecule, that C6H12O6 molecule. You also already know that chloroplasts are made of a double membrane. So remember that they've got that one outer membrane, and we only draw them as an oval because I can only draw in 2 dimensions, but keep in mind that they are 3-dimensional. So think of it as like a big water balloon. So there's that outer membrane, and then there's the inner membrane, and that inner membrane is a bunch of little skinny small sacs that are all put together. They're all stacked up. I gave you the example in class that they look kind of like a stack of pancakes or a stack of coins. I know this drawing is beautiful, but you know what? There's actually a better drawing on the next slide. So as you look at this guy, this is a much better computer-generated image. You can see the outer membrane here. And again, it kind of looks 3-dimensional here, so it's easier to see. So you've got this 3-dimensional outer membrane, and then you have the inner membrane here that's all folded up and stacked in on itself. And the reason it's stacked up is because that gives us lots and lots of surface area. And all that surface area gives us room for chemical reactions to take place. So this stacked membrane is the inner membrane where you have the outer membrane out here. There are a lot of words on this slide that you don't need to know about. Stroma lamellae, stroma, intermembrane space, granum, thylakoid. You don't need to know any of those words. Here's a word you do need to know, however. You do need to know about pigments. And just for the record, I'm writing with my finger here. So this is going to be some awesome writing because I left my stylus at school. So a pigment is just a colored molecule. They happen to be green in most chloroplasts, but there are other colored pigments. One colored pigment that you already worked with was that purple colored pigment that we used with our cabbage lab when we did the pH lab. So there are different colors of pigments, but the most common one for plants is green. And the purpose of a pigment is a colored molecule. The purpose, its function, is that it helps trap sunlight. So if we didn't have pigments, we wouldn't be able to trap sunlight. And if we don't have pigments that trap sunlight to do photosynthesis, but plants have pigments that trap sunlight for the sake of doing photosynthesis. So if the plant couldn't trap that sunlight, then it wouldn't be able to perform photosynthesis, which means if the plant didn't have a pigment, it wouldn't be able to perform photosynthesis. So if we were to take all of the pigment molecules out of these different intermembrane spaces, then we would not be able to have green chloroplasts, and we would not be able to have green plants, and we would not be able to have plants that are going to trap sunlight and perform photosynthesis, and then we're all in trouble. So here's a reaction you've seen before. You've seen the basics of this. It just looks a little bit different right now because I've made it slightly more accurate than it was before. What I did to make it more accurate was I put these 6s in here. And all these 6s do is tell us how many of each molecule we're looking at. So let me explain that a little bit better. So when we see 6 carbon dioxide molecules, what that means is that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carbon dioxide molecules. So we know what carbon dioxide looks like. That 6 tells us there are 6 of those molecules. We add to that 6 water molecules. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 water molecules. So we take our 6 carbon dioxide molecules and our 6 water molecules, and we're going to combine them with some sunlight. And then a reaction is going to take place. And that's what this arrow means. That arrow means that a reaction takes place. So we take our carbon dioxide, we take our water, we take our sunlight, and we mix them all up and we get a reaction. And what's going to come out? We're going to get a glucose molecule. Now notice how big this glucose molecule is compared to these little individual water molecules and these little individual carbon dioxide molecules. So notice that there's no number here. And that not having a number there just tells us that we have one glucose molecule, just one glucose molecule. And that's because it took a lot of atoms. So a bunch of these atoms and a bunch of these atoms went into making this one big glucose molecule. And glucose is what we really wanted out of this. However, as with lots of chemical reactions, there is a waste product. And that waste product is going to be this, is going to be this oxygen. And those oxygen molecules are actually really, really handy because even though they're a waste product, they're basically plant farts, they're just gas that the plant is giving off. They're going to give off that oxygen, and handy for us, we need that oxygen. So this works really well for us. The plants give off oxygen as a waste product, but we then go ahead and give off carbon dioxide as a waste product. And look at how well that works because they need the carbon dioxide. So we breathe in the oxygen and breathe out the carbon dioxide. They take in the carbon dioxide and give us the oxygen. Handy. That is a wonderful symbiotic relationship that we have worked out with plants. Now, I've basically told you everything you need to know about photosynthesis. Those are the basics. You've got them already. Before we review, I'm going to let you watch a cool little video that I found for you.
I love going out to eat. You sit down, look at a menu, and someone brings you exactly what you want.
Yeah, wouldn't it be great if every time we wanted to eat, it was this easy? No work, no cooking, just 1, 2, 3. There it is.
Totally. Like this plant. Plants don't have to do anything to eat. They just sit there in the sun, wait for us to water them, and grow.
Wait a minute, what about photosynthesis?
What?
Photosynthesis, the process green plants use to make food.
They have a process? I thought they just, ate water.
Not quite. They need the water, no doubt. But plants use the energy from the sun to turn water and carbon dioxide into food.
Kind of like a recipe.
Exactly. To make food, green plants like this one use energy from the sun to combine water and carbon dioxide and make sugar and oxygen. They eat the sugar and release the oxygen.
Okay, I'll admit, that does sound like more work than just ordering off a menu.
Here, there are 4 main ingredients in the recipe for photosynthesis: water, sunlight, carbon dioxide, and chlorophyll.
All right, Chef, I'm writing this down.
We both know where plants get water, the first ingredient.
Either it rains or we water the plants.
Right. The plant uses its roots to drink the water up into its leaves. Veins throughout the leaves carry water to all of the plant cells. But not only does the plant drink, it breathes too. At the bottom of each leaf are tiny holes called stoma, surrounded by guard cells. Stoma are sort of like the nostrils of the plant. The guard cells open and close the stoma so that the plant can breathe in carbon dioxide from the air.
Drinking? Breathing? Plants are more like people than I thought.
Does anybody see a problem here? Anybody? Anybody? I have a problem, and my problem is right here. They should not have written carbon dioxide this way. Remember that your subscript is a subscript, and the 2 goes down here. It's down low. This is bad. That subscript goes down here. They were doing it so they could be jaunty and cool, but that's just bad science. Shame on them.
It's true. Now, so far, our plant has water and carbon dioxide. Once those 2 ingredients find their way to the chloroplasts, we're really cooking.
Chloroplasts?
Yeah, chloroplasts are sort of like the plant's kitchen. Chloroplasts are where the plant stores chlorophyll and where photosynthesis takes place. The plant uses its chlorophyll to absorb sunlight. The chlorophyll uses the sun's energy to cook the water and the carbon dioxide. When the recipe of photosynthesis is complete, the plant has made sugar and oxygen.
Wow, And that's the oxygen in the air we breathe?
Right.
Huh. Photosynthesis is way cooler than ordering food off a menu.
Photosynthesis is one of the coolest processes scientists know about.
So, plants use photosynthesis to turn sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide into sugar and oxygen. The oxygen is used by other living things, and for us, that's quite the breath of fresh air.
Sounds like you're singing a different song now that you know plants don't have it as easy as you thought.
That's for sure. Photosynthesis sounds like hard work.
It does, and you know what?
What?
Plants do all that work, and they still don't get to eat spaghetti.
Plants, they can't even eat spaghetti. Nuts. Let's get back to the rest of our PowerPoint here. All right, so this is the section where you get to quiz yourself. So basically, I'm going to ask a question. It's your job to hit pause, see if you can answer the question, and then you can check to see the answer. So the first question is, what is the purpose of photosynthesis? Hopefully you said the purpose of photosynthesis is to convert the sun's energy into stored chemical energy. And you remember that that stored chemical energy is in the form of glucose. Next question, where does photosynthesis occur? In other words, where in the cell specifically does photosynthesis occur? Again, hopefully the very first thing you thought of was chloroplasts. Chloroplasts. This one's a little tougher. Describe the structure of a chloroplast. Couple things you needed to tell me. You needed to tell me that there are two membranes. There's the outer membrane and the inner membrane, and that the inner membrane is made up of those stacks of sacks, like those coins or those pancakes. And then remember that that's just to increase surface area, because the more surface area we have, the more we can have those chemical reactions taking place. This is a toughie. What is the overall reaction for photosynthesis? You should absolutely be able to do this at a moment's notice. What is the overall reaction for photosynthesis? And I want you to be able to say it in words, not just write it out with the chemical formulas. Okay, so you should be able to tell me that 6 water molecules plus 6 carbon dioxide molecules plus sunlight are going to combine to form 1 glucose molecule plus 6 oxygen molecules. Now we'll break it down. So what are the reactants for photosynthesis? Remember that reactants are the things that go into a reaction. So the things that go into photosynthesis are water, carbon dioxide, and sunlight. Think about that. That's not too hard. You know what plants need. Plants need water to live. They need carbon dioxide to live. They need sunlight to live. By the way, you might hear my dog rattling around in the background. She's getting a little restless. What are the products of photosynthesis? So remember, the products are what we make. Products are what come out, whether they're things we want or things we don't want. So the products are glucose and oxygen. Remember that glucose is what the plants want, and as far as the plant is concerned, oxygen is a waste product. What are pigments for? Basically, pigments are just there to trap sunlight. Their job is to trap sunlight. And what would happen if there were no pigments in a plant, if a plant had no pigments? Well, since the job of a pigment is to trap light, if there were no pigments, the plant wouldn't be able to trap light. Without light getting trapped, you don't have one of the ingredients you need for photosynthesis. Photosynthesis couldn't happen. The plant wouldn't have glucose. Nobody would have any glucose, and then we would all be in deep, deep doo-doo. So there you go. That's it. That's photosynthesis in a nutshell. Now you get to go study, study, study.